It's a story that we all know. The struggling artist or aspiring celebrity who just can't seem to catch a break, and then one night, this person, who's down on their luck, so to speak, makes that infamous deal. And in a desperate effort to attain success, they make a plea to Satan and offer their own eternal soul and proclaim their willingness to serve him in exchange for wealth and worldly acclaim, or success in whatever it is they're trying to achieve. And depending on the story, the circumstances vary. Sometimes the struggling artist actually encounters the devil himself, as claimed by Robert Johnson, who is often considered to be the father of rock and roll.
I went to the crossroads.
Well, they say he sold himself to the devil, and that's what they say.
I never seen him have to practice anything like that. Never seen him sit down and learn a song. He already knew it. Once he attempted to play it, he knew it. He had a built-in computer. Everything he heard was there. All he had to do was punch the button.
The Mets goers probably went to the crossroads, got down on his knees, handed his guitar to the devil. The devil said, once you receive this guitar back, your soul is mine.
Early this morning, ooh, he knocked upon my door. And I said, hello, Satan, I believe it's time to go. And the devil was walking side by side. Devil, we're walking side by side.
But Robert Johnson is far from the only celebrity or famous person who claims to have sold their soul to the devil. And a lot of times, instead of actually meeting the devil in person, the deal is apparently struck through prayer or rituals.
Really well now, but didn't you release a CD almost 10 years ago?
Yeah, I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music,
yeah,
but it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
You're still out here doing these songs, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
But as far as this music stuff, I won't be doing this music stuff anymore. I started this because this was my dream, and I wanted to make sure I could get me and my kids out the hood. It's always been my passion to rap. A while ago, I had signed a contract, and I didn't know nothing about the business or this game out here. And just right now, I'm realizing that I signed my soul. I sold my soul to the devil. I signed my soul to the devil. I don't even own myself no more. I sold my soul to the mother devil, and I done prayed. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And it's just like, I don't know if God can get me out of this.
But is it true? Can a man really trade his soul for fame and riches? And does the Bible have anything to say about this? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is when the devil attempted to make a very similar deal with Jesus himself, an event that's often called the temptation of Christ, and it's documented in Matthew chapter 4 as well as Luke chapter 4. And let's just read it. Okay, so Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, and the tempter being the devil, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made to bread. And so you see, he's tempting Jesus right now because, as it says in verse 2, he had just fasted for 40 days and 40 nights and he was hungry, and being God and being able to, perform miracles, the devil shows up and says, why don't you turn these rocks into bread, because you can eat. And that was a temptation because Jesus was hungry. All right, but moving on. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And so Jesus quotes scriptures. And then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on the pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down. For it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, it is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And so he's also acknowledging his deity right there. But now really pay attention to verses 8 through 11 here. It says, again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. And so here we actually see the devil promising Christ all the wealth and power and prestige in the world, if only Jesus would bow down and worship him. And of course, Jesus rejected the devil and pretty much told him to kick rocks. But that's the Messiah that we're talking about. Of course, he did not bow down to Satan. But now think of the world around you and ask yourself, how many among us would deny that offer like Jesus did? Or better yet, how many people do you know that would quickly bow down before the devil in exchange for all the wealth and luxury and fame in the world? Because I'll bet you could name a few. And so why wouldn't the devil still use this tactic? The Bible calls him the tempter and the god of this world, which he clearly is if he were able to offer all the kingdoms of earth to Jesus, and the devil uses the pleasures and enticements of sin to enslave men. So it's pretty feasible to consider the prospect that the devil has his hand in the so-called success of these young and influential celebrities who are indoctrinating and corrupting the youth by day and then driving around in Lamborghinis by night, and attending mansion parties. But honestly, you don't need to be an entrepreneur or an aspiring celebrity to see what a deal with the devil looks like. All you really got to do is just look out your front window and just observe the nature and the culture of this society, where the quickest route to wealth is to lie, to cheat, and to steal, to sell drugs and to sell sex, to conduct pyramid schemes, or scam people online, etc. And even you watching this video, you could probably become a millionaire in 12 months, but it would require you to abandon your integrity and dignity, and you'll have to be willing to deceive and exploit others, and maybe even hurt others. And so, when you frame it that way, you can make the argument that people who are motivated by worldly gratification, and those who are willing to do immoral things for money have indirectly already made that same deal with the devil. Because the devil couldn't care less if you worship him by name or if you identify as a Satanist. As long as you're not serving God, you're right where the devil wants you. And he keeps you there with the hollow comforts of sex and drugs and entertainment. When you adopt the status quo lifestyle of this constant consumption and indulgence and just moving from one distraction to the next. And it's all there just to keep you from thinking your own thoughts and examining your heart. It's all about distracting you from seeking God. And anyways, the Book of the Law would become the foundational source for Crowley's invented religion, which he would name Thelema, a satanic religion that is still practiced today. And the Book of the Law is also the origin of Crowley's famous mantra, of which I keep repeating, do what thou wilt. And most of you have probably heard that before, and certainly you have if you watched part 1 of this series. But the quote goes on. It's actually, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And what he's saying here is that in his projected future, there will only be one universal law, to do what you wilt, or pretty much to do what you want, to serve yourself before all others and just do whatever you want and everyone else be damned, And remember, this is not just Crowley writing about his opinions. This is supposedly some demon prophesying about the near future through Crowley. He called it the Eon of Horus, and he said that this eon was now upon us. And you got to think, when you look around, not only has our world embraced this notion of do what thou wilt, but also we participate in ceremonious pagan rituals and witchcraft, and often unbeknownst to us, it's just part of the culture here in this fallen world. Think back to the scriptures I referenced earlier, when the devil attempted to make a deal with Jesus, promising all the wealth and all the fame in the world if Jesus would just worship him, aka sell his soul. And while most people laugh at the notion of celebrities acquiring fame and fortune in response to selling their soul to the devil, everybody actually acknowledges this transaction. I mean, it's a phenomenon that even the secular world recognizes, but they call it selling out. Instead of selling your soul, it's just selling out. But what does it mean to sell out in context with fame and stardom? It means that you voluntarily trade in your integrity and principles and promote bad things, for fame in an obviously satanic entertainment industry. And if you're a girl, your fame might come at the cost of your willingness to prance around in front of a crowd of children as you sing explicit songs about inappropriate things while wearing lingerie. And if you're a rapper, you might find yourself reading news headlines about fans of yours who got killed in a drive-by shooting, and the depression may begin to grow inside you as you continue to rap about what a tough gangbanger you are, while going home to a secluded mansion in the hills where you can't even hear the gunshots being exchanged by the kids who are imitating the nonsense that you're rapping about, or maybe you're the talented salesman who stumbles into that $1 million deal, and all you got to do is tell a couple lies, destroy a few businesses, maybe buy off a few politicians, and then it's off to the Bahamas with you. And you could be the next CEO. And this is the do what thou wilt model of success. And it all equates to worshiping the devil. Because as God watches down, we are getting caught up in a self-centered rat race to gain stature in this fallen world system that rewards apathy and compliance. And it doesn't take a seminary graduate to see how well these celebrated people serve Satan's mission, which is ultimately to keep you distracted by sin and lust so that you don't seek God, like I said before. And so that you can join the devil in the lake of fire when this is all said and done. So can you really sell your soul to the devil? Well, yeah, and many do. Biblically speaking, it is possible to indulge in sin to the point that your conscience can become seared and unresponsive to God's voice. But does the devil really reward his servants with fame and riches? Well, again, I would say yes, but it's demonstrated through the very culture of humanity in this fallen world. Because the devil doesn't care if you acknowledge him, like I said before. He just wants you to avoid God. He doesn't need your allegiance. He already has your allegiance if you're living in sin and if you're not living for God. And it's clear to see that in this world, fame and wealth is held in the highest regard from the general public. That is the dream. And it's not a coincidence that the highly acclaimed celebrity witches of our world, from Crowley to Cobain, tend to meet such a tragic demise. A deal with the devil is a bum deal. It's actually a scam. But what more would you expect from the father of lies? Why did I spend so much time covering Aleister Crowley and adult celebrities in a video series called The War on Kids? Well, because children are the ones who have always been strategically targeted by this satanic entertainment industry. And the people who we as adults regard as entertainers, to children are educators. And if Crowley's little Eon of Horus prophecy really has been fulfilled, then it was accomplished through the influence of this entertainment industry, which hardly even existed in the time of Crowley's life. I mean, seriously, even the entertainment industry itself was pretty much designed in the wake of Aleister Crowley's influence. And it was through music and entertainment that Crowleyites like Timothy Leary or the Beatles pushed this whole do what thou wilt thing into the mainstream, both in word and practice. And apparently Crowley's influence has only grown since then, because indeed our world now embraces and defends the do what thou wilt lifestyle. At least that's the case from my point of view here in the United States. I mean, we now have passports being issued with X as a gender option. We have Drag Queen Story Hour, which is often praised by the media, where idiotic parents bring their children to local libraries to hear stories being read by men wearing coconut bras and miniskirts. We have children undergoing sex reassignment surgery to the applause of society, pornographic and pedophilic books in elementary school libraries. And the most popular video games are the ones that simulate murder, and the most popular movies are the ones that simulate or document murders. And then you got all these songs, which glorify everything from drug abuse and sex abuse to, again, murder, and you think back to when your grandfather was young and he would just walk around whistling zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day, through his workday. But his grandkids are going through the school day humming songs like WAP or WAP by Cardi B, or maybe some Eminem song or some mumble rap song. And whatever it is, these lyrics, aka messages, are literally about indulging in the maximum excess of sin, and that's what's made to look cool. And you got these teenage boys that are getting lyrics about smacking girls, or selling drugs, getting stuck in their heads, getting stuck in their still developing minds, and they focus on this stuff throughout the day, and they're inundated with it, and they even look up to it. And I would hope that by this point you can see why this has everything to do with the war on kids, because it's the children who are targeted with this stuff, and it's the children who are indoctrinated by this stuff. They're the ones conforming to it as the grown-ups scratch our heads and comment about how weird everything's getting. And then when you look back at Crowley and you realize that all those taboos and ideas that he touted and acts that he practiced, which he was hated for at the time, have now become tenets of the new normal. In today's world, Crowley would fit right in. Heck, he would probably be a celebrity. And the whole transformation is hinged on this principle of do what thou wilt. And even the old folks and the more wholesome portion of our society has embraced this. Even the so-called emerging church and evangelical right is accepting this satanic notion. And you can clearly see it in the humanism and the New Age movements touted by deceivers like Oprah or Joel Osteen. This idea of manifesting your own destiny, or speaking things into existence. That is the epitome of magic and witchcraft. We just don't refer to it as casting spells anymore. It's gone mainstream. The secret societies of Crowley's day have become the governments of our day. And so I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that this world and the ways of this world are downright satanic. And so in a way, if you are worshiping the things of this world, and if you are denying the true God, then you already sold your soul. And we all have this opportunity to cash in our integrity in exchange for wealth and worldly success. So not only is it true that a man can proverbially sell his soul, but that concept is actually the foundation of the very gospel. Because the Bible describes the unsaved man as being a slave to sin. And this reality is encapsulated by everything I just covered in this video, not to mention all the other content on this channel. But fortunately for us, God is willing to forgive us of our sin, and we can be liberated from the bonds of this sin if we only believe and call on the Lord for salvation. And I'm not saying that as some type of Christian obligation, because I'm a Christian truther or whatever. No, I'm a man who didn't come to Christ until I was around age 30. And I have been on the Crowley side of this in the past. And I'm here to tell you that God has restored and transformed my life, so take that for what you will, but it's the truth. And you know what's beautiful? Even Aleister Crowley could have been saved if he would have called out to God and repented of his sins and believed on the name of Jesus. But you know what's sad? He didn't. And so here's my final statement regarding everything we just went over. Don't be like Aleister Crowley. Don't be so arrogant in your opposition to God that you find yourself dying old and alone in the grips of depression and addiction. And don't be like Lady Gaga or Lil Nas X and lose your soul to a devil who is only blessing you with worldly benefits for the purpose of keeping you on the hook so that you can continue to corrupt souls while simultaneously destroying your own. Because the devil is under no obligation to honor the conditions of any supposed deal that he makes. It's to the contrary. He is a liar by nature. Again, he's the father of lies. And he will certainly trick and deceive anybody who is foolish enough to willingly offer anything to him. He will chew you up and he will spit you out, just like he did with Crowley. And when you're getting zipped up in a body bag at age 27 as some celebrity millionaire rock star or whatever it is, maybe you're just an addict on the street getting zipped up in a body bag, but the devil will continue to use your work and your legacy to corrupt and destroy others and ultimately to engage this war on kids. Because it is the innocent and unsuspecting children of our world who sit in the crosshairs of this entire satanic entertainment complex. And if you couldn't see that before, I hope that you do now. Protect your children. Decry this blasphemous nonsense. And turn to God. Because he's the one who created your soul. And this other guy, he just wants to destroy it.